Can there be hope in a world without a future? On the Fury Road, hope can will a future into being. George Miller's 2015 revival of the Mad Max franchise is a visceral experience. A journey that rushes at breakneck speed from points A to B to C and back to A in an unrelenting and spellbinding manner. Mad Max Fury Road is a movie that has many things to say about humanity, the world, and the ability to do both great good and great evil that's within all people. But first and foremost, this is a film about hope in a world that should have none, and the power it has to transform even the most broken people. It's a hope that may seem insane, but one that can change a desolate world ruled by those who would wipe the idea of hope from the face of the planet. In a world where the seas have turned to dust and worldwide nuclear war has unraveled humanity's chance for a future, hope seems like the worst idea for anyone looking to survive. Yet it's the only thing that can enact change, and it's change that we see within Max. Change that creates the boomerang path of the film, and change that springs from the characters of Furiosa and the women she rescues. The struggle between hope and survival is the central tension of Miller's film, and it's a tension seen in every Mad Max movie. In the 1979 original, the murder of Max's wife and child destroys all hope in the lawman and drives him out into the wasteland. In The Road Warrior, Max regains hope by choosing to protect a band of survivors, essentially returning from the dead for the sake of others. And in Beyond Thunderdome, he fights for a cargo cult of children in the hope that they'll have a better future.
As the world fell, each of us in our own way was broken.
Fury Road starts with Max once again stripped of all humanity, and Miller's choice to narrate the film from his point of view, instead of the more mythological storytelling perspectives of parts 2 and 3, puts us in the mind of a desolated survivor. At the beginning, Tom Hardy's Max is focused on survival after failing to save too many people that he cared about, specifically a young girl who haunts his shattered mind.
How are you, Max?
The former cop who had everything ripped away from him in the original Mad Max was once again broken, leaving an empty husk of a man who cares for nothing but staying alive. So does a broken man like Max Rockatansky choose to do whatever it takes to survive? Or does he embrace hope and strive to change his world when given the chance? With a character as taciturn as Max, the audience is left to determine the hero's mental and emotional state through his actions rather than his words.
Hey, what's your name? What do I call you?
Does it matter?
This makes his transformation from little more than an animal to a self-sacrificing hero through the course of the film speak volumes about the effects of hope upon a man and world who had given up on the idea. The wasteland in which Max lives is a visual reflection of the despair within its inhabitants. Yes, Miller makes this world gorgeous in its own haunting way. Vibrant sand as far as the eye can see, craggy valleys that look sharp enough to slice the skin, sudden quagmires that could ensnare the toughest vehicles, sandstorms that rival the very wrath of God. And in the midst of it all, a water-soaked citadel that brings death rather than life. What can one man do besides simply survive? That focus on survival is shaken when he's thrust into the escape of Charlize Theron's Imperator Furiosa, who's defected from the nightmarish ranks of Immortan Joe's army and rescued his captive breeder brides. Max starts as little more than a hood ornament on a chasing car, then becomes an opponent to Furiosa, and finally stands as her partner in escaping the legions that follow. But the majority of Max's participation is the result of a common goal, finding a better place away from the murderous army in hot pursuit. Max wants it for pure survival, while Furiosa is powered by both hope and guilt. Hope that she can provide a better life for the brides at the female-controlled Green Place, and guilt over her many unspoken atrocities as a leader in an apocalyptic army.
They're looking for hope.
What about you?
Redemption.
We find that hope to be infectious, as the brides believe in a better place free from their oppression before the film even begins. In fact, it's women alone in Fury Road who spark hope in others, as men like Max or the warboy Nux are either broken survivors or tools used by a demagogue, who can only change through their encounters with Furiosa and the brides. The world of Fury Road is stagnant in despair. The Citadel shows us this through Immortan Joe's control over the desperate hordes. People are either trapped in this nightmare or don't care to change it until Furiosa shows that hope is still possible. Someone has to believe that things could be better before they try to make things better. When it came to the women at the center of the film, Miller invited Vagina Monologues playwright and feminist Eve Ensler to do workshops with the actors. It was an exercise to help the actors find their characters, but it strengthened the feminist themes of the film, with Miller reflecting, "Everybody in this story, except Immortan Joe, is in some way a commodity. This story is one that has been fairly constant throughout history, meaning that women and indeed other human beings have been basically the goods and chattels of the powerful." It's never clearly stated what sparked Furiosa's hope and actions, but as a woman whose early years as a child were spent outside the reign of Immortan Joe, she remembers a better place. The same can't be said for most under Joe's rule. When Furiosa is given control of the enormous war rig, she seizes her moment to rescue the brides and takes off without any help because she has hope. The women of Fury Road repeatedly ask a question.
And who killed the world?
The answer is never said out loud, but it's extremely clear. Men. Men like Immortan Joe, the Bullet Farmer, and the People Eater, who eliminate the individuality of their followers and turn dying young men into a V8 cult, worshipping the idea of glorious death under a leader whose own frail body and mounds of lies are hidden by armor and deluded belief. Angarid, Capable, Toast, the Dag, and Cheeto have been exposed to Immortan Joe's same rule, but the influence of women like Furiosa and Miss Giddy show them the truth. Men like Joe broke the world and have taken its pieces to shape some small seed of power. Furiosa isn't initially trying to stop Joe, she is only trying to get her fellow women away from a man using their bodies for gain. In this moment, hope is a better place, a feminine place, the green place. The home that Furiosa was stolen from as a child and the spark that sustains her own hope. But when we find out that the green place is gone, we're reminded that we only have one world. This is our only home. We can't leave it. We either have to succumb to its worst aspects or change it. Max, a man, recognizes the goodness found in Furiosa's cause and becomes an agent of change. An agent of her change. An agent of feminine change. Femininity in Fury Road is the antidote to masculine destruction. Is there a more potent symbol in the film than this?
What is this?
It's mother's milk.
Max is washing off the blood of the patriarchy with mother's milk. The torchbearers of hope are small in number and limited in power, but they can spark something bigger. Now, the survival of hope becomes more important than the survival of the body. The journey of Fury Road is not without its challenges to the idea of hope. The splendid Angarid, leader of the brides and staunchest supporter in Furiosa's idea of the green place, dies early on in the escape. Without her, the brides are left to question their future, but the true challenge is in the reveal that the green place no longer exists. All that's left are the few remaining members of the Vuvolini who once ruled the green place, and their seeds, which wait to be planted in fertile soil in order to sprout a new future. Without an object to hope in, can someone still have hope? Following Furiosa's breakdown, she and the survivors decide to ride out across the salt in desperation for anything better. Of course, Max still has no belief in hope, advising Furiosa the night before.
You know, hope is a mistake. If you can't fix what's broken, you'll go insane.
Max would know. He's been beyond where Furiosa stands at that moment and embodies the worst of what could happen. Max won't ride out with them. He knows that right now they're propelled by false hope. The story structure of Fury Road follows Joseph Campbell's heroic cycle fairly closely, established in his 1949 work The Hero with a Thousand Faces. This structure illustrates how a hero's path in a story is one where the protagonist journeys from the known world into the unknown, encountering all manner of challenges, gaining allies, and finally returning to the known world with a prize that lets them change the world for the better. But they also have to enter the abyss, the nadir of their journey where things seem their bleakest. In the heroic cycle of Fury Road, Max and Furiosa both play protagonist, become obstacles to one another, and turn into allies that help each other complete their quest. You could say that Max has been in the abyss since before the film started. His time with Furiosa has helped him attain apotheosis, regaining hope, the ultimate prize that not only leads him out of the abyss, but will change the world. Max comprehends the true object of their real hope, Immortan Joe's Citadel, a fertile place that can grow a better future when led by the right hands. This moment of quiet realization is spurred on by the specter of the young girl.
Come on, Pa, let's go.
Leading to Max intercepting the band of women to form a better plan. The future lies before them, but they must seize it through their own power. Here, the hope that Furiosa has ignited in turn reignites her own hope, and sets them on the final return in the journey to change the world.
At least that way, we might be able to. Together. Come across some kind of redemption.
It's a hope strong enough to convince them to take an army head on, no matter the consequences. Even Nux, the war boy who has changed from pursuer to believer thanks to this band of women and their hope for a better future, acknowledges what they're all thinking.
Feels like hope.
A new hope arises. Not a desperate hope for escape and a better future for a few, but an empowering hope for a brighter future for all, free from the tyranny of corrupt men. That's why the finale of Fury Road has a greater emotional weight and sense of urgency than ever before. This is no longer the story of a desperate man trying to survive in a world gone mad, and a woman seeking a way out. This is now a fight against oppression that echoes our own struggles in life, even when embodied in a vastly different world. I've gone from being very male-dominant to being surrounded by magnificent women. I can't help but be a feminist, said Miller. You could say the same for Max. It's easy to lose hope when you stare at the world for long enough. You see injustices, you see tragedy. If you stare at something like Immortan Joe's Armada instead of what they're keeping you from, you lose sight of what makes life worth living. You stop trying to be someone better for not just your own sake, but the sake of everyone you touch. You let the worst parts of the world wash you away. Hope is not extinguished through loss. Hope is snuffed out when the soul quits believing that something better is possible. And the sad truth about the world is that there are so many people in it that want you to give up. Philosopher Jean-Marie Guillot said, "Our strength is made of a ray of light, not even of the hope of a ray. One must thus know how to hope. Hope is what carries us higher and farther. But it's an illusion. What do you know of this? Should we not take a step for fear that one day the earth will slide away from under our feet? Looking far into the past or the future is not the only thing. One must look into oneself. One must see there the living forces that demand to be expended. And we must act. The world will tell you not to hope. Strangers who would rather see you fall to pieces than succeed will try to snuff the spark in your soul. Do not give up. If you draw breath, you can fight. If you can fight, you can hope. And if you can hope, then something better is still possible." Look to the future, and what do you see? Is it a barren wasteland of the dead, or a green place filled with better lives? Hope changes Max's ghosts into saviors, turns the brides into warriors, and gives this band of fighters the strength to crush their oppressors and rip Joe's face off.
Remember me?
Like Miller's The Road Warrior, the story of Fury Road hinges on Max Rakitansky believing in something greater than himself. While The Road Warrior saw the anti-hero come to accept the value of humanity once again, Fury Road has Max be reborn into an agent for societal change. And it's because of Furiosa that Max lets himself be known as a person once more. Because to let someone in means being vulnerable in a world that has only hurt you.
Max. My name is Max.
Max is an agent of change, even an agent of death, not a ruler. It's the wisdom of 3 generations of women, the experienced Vuvolini, the powerful Furiosa, and the limitless potential of the former brides that will lead this new world. These women are hope incarnate, and their return sees the almost immediate obliteration of Immortan Joe's empire. An empire built on fear can only last until hope becomes strong enough. Max may not believe that this is a world where he belongs, but his humanity has returned, while Furiosa's own hope has found its fulfillment in a world better than she could have ever dreamed. If you feel like hope is fading, hold on. There are more of us fighting for something better than you could ever know. And when we come together, hope becomes reality. In that moment, a beautiful and profound future will blossom in the barren wasteland.